Okie dokie. Hello, Chicago Bears fans. It seems like we got something going on in training camp that is seemingly enough looking like it's gonna be actually a bigger problem than we apparently thought it was. And that is resulting about Teven Jenkins. um if you don't know what's going on with Teven Jenkins obviously offensive lineman the Bears drafted last year. To pretty much be a future, hopefully be a future piece to where he's a staple of the offensive line going forward, compared to this trash offensive line we typically have. But I think the offensive line Ryan Poles has got, it isn't the best. It's okay. I would say it's decent slash no, I'll say decent. It's a decent offensive line, but nothing impressive. You really have no all pro players there. And I'm still like wondering what's the plan for the offensive line? Are we gonna do something? But regardless, Teven Jenkins, he has not shown up for training camp. And today I think was the Bears' first padded practice, and he still hasn't shown up. Yeah, and obviously Bear fans are wondering, media are wondering what's going on with Teven Jenkins. Why is he not showing up? And all of a sudden, yesterday we get in a report by Ian Rappaport saying that the Bears are hearing teams trade talks for Teven Jenkins. Okay, so apparently the Bears might trade Teven Jenkins now, which means this situation, I don't know what's going on, but this situation seemingly is not going good. Now, for some reason, Teven Jenkins is not at practice, coming to practice, or whatever. I don't know why. The Bears are very transparent with it, which is not shocking because they're always transparent. But it's not like they owe us anything to say anything. But at the same time, with this organization that, let's be honest, doesn't deserve any benefits of the doubt, whatever 100%. They should honestly be as transparent with the damn fans as they should. What the hell's going on with this Teven Jenkins situation? What's going on? Is he hurt? Is there an issue this guy's having with the coaching staff and the front office that they're not seeing eye to eye with this guy? Now, apparently a few days ago, David Kaplan, he made the mention of the fact that the Bears still see Teven Jenkins as a very talented offensive lineman, a talented player. The only problem is he apparently has maturity issues, and the Bears just haven't seen eye to eye with him. So, okay, but it's mostly maturity issues. So, what are my 2 cents on this situation? What are my thoughts? Do I think the Bears are going to trade Teven Jenkins? And if they do trade Teven Jenkins, what are my thoughts if that happens? So my thoughts on this report, again, take things from David Kaplan with a grain of salt. Even though now this trade talks being rumored and stuff like that, sometimes David Kaplan can be right about things. Sometimes he can be wrong about things. Sometimes he's just blowing smoke just to blow smoke. But it is what it is. I don't mind David Kaplan. I like him. But he does kind of get a little bit unbearable for me. Pun not entirely intended. And stuff like that. But I do believe Teven Jenkins is talented. I agree there. Now, this maturity issue, I don't know what this maturity issue is. Is this maturity issue the fact that maybe he's not the type of player that, Eberflus wants and mentions slash, they need players pretty much playing to the whistle from what, that's the whole thing. And given that they're all 100% every freaking play, is that an issue where Teven Jenkins has an issue with that? And things like that. It could be an injury reason. Maybe he's injured and he's just at the trainer's office at Hallis Hall, or maybe they just told him stay at home and rest up your injury, and then come back the following week. We'll check you out and then see if you're good to go. Or another maturity issue that could be a thing is maybe he's upset because apparently I'm guessing he's like not even starting. He right now on the depth chart or something like that, wherever the Bears are having it from what reports are saying, he hasn't really gotten reps with the number ones. Maybe that's a thing, and maybe he's just upset like, oh, I should be starting because I was a high draft pick by this team, and I should be getting a legitimate shot. But that's the problem with Teven Jenkins fails to realize is the fact that it's a new regime, and the new regime doesn't have to hold nobody's hands because pretty much everybody is on like a prove it pretty much year of like, okay, this is a new regime. We may like the player, but we got to evaluate and see if you're going to be a mainstay in our regime. That even goes out to Justin Fields, because if Justin Fields stinks up the joint next year, well, guess what? Like I said, if the Bears have a high draft pick, hey, I want to be shocked if Ryan Poles is like, yes, we got a young quarterback in Justin Fields, but fuck it. Maybe I'll take a quarterback right here, right now, and put some fuel to the fire. Let Justin Fields know, hey, you better get it together. Otherwise, this guy's going to come in and take your spot. Everybody's there. That's this whole Roquan Smith thing. Maybe, they haven't paid him yet, even though he's holding out. At least the one thing about Roquan is I like he's there at the practice. I do wish he was practicing. I understand why he isn't practicing. And I do think he deserves the money. And just my opinion, I'm like, you chose a perfect time to freaking want to ask the management to get money when we actually need to do a lot better of improving the offense than the defense. But I think he'll get paid. We'll see what Ryan Poles does, but that's kind of the thing there and stuff like that. So the thing the whole issue stemming is this potential maturity issue. So I don't know if that's a thing where he's upset that maybe he feels disrespected by some way, that he's a backup or something like that. And the Bears are not having him start. Well, I thought this guy plays football. So if that's the issue there, then maybe he's just being a little bit too I guess you can say entitled, which means he's not going out there wanting to compete. He thinks things are going to be handed to him. And that's the end of the day of football. I coach football. You have to compete. I tell my players all the time, you have to compete to get a spot, and you have to know what you're doing. Apparently, I'm guessing there's some disconnect between him and his lineman Chris Morgan. I don't know what's going on. I do not know what's going on. If there is apparently issues behind the scenes, here's my thing, what I would do. I don't know why Ryan Poles and the coaching staff, Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, Chris Morgan, they can't have a scheduled meeting with this guy, call this guy up, have a meeting with this guy, unless this guy absolutely wants nothing to do with you. I don't know why they just can't schedule a meeting. Sit down with this guy, talk with this guy, air any grievances out this guy has, and then resolve the issue and then have him at practice. Unless it's like absolutely like this guy's character, is bad, his motivations of why he's sitting out are bad, then yes, you can trade him. But, I don't want to trade away a talented piece that we drafted very highly last year away for probably just maybe a late round draft pick because he wasn't happy. And then if he ends up going to another team being a really good player, I'm talking about maybe Pro Bowler, then you're going to be looking back and I'm going to be looking at Ryan Poles and be like, dumbass, you can't tell me you just couldn't sit down with the guy and just talk things out with this guy and fix this guy and, reassure this guy and say, hey, is there any issues going on? What's the issue? So I don't know if that's the thing. I understand the Bears kind of want to be Ryan Poles. He wants to be cutthroat and he wants to be like, well, if you're not going to fucking be here, well, then I'll just look to listen if there's any trade talks going on for teams that want your services. I understand wanting to be cutthroat. If a guy doesn't want to be at a place, don't be at a place. But at the end of the day, I would like it if I were to hear a report that no, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, Chris Morgan, the offensive line coach, they've reached out to Teven Jenkins and they're doing everything they can to try to get him into the building, have a talk, discussion, air out these grievances that Teven Jenkins may have. But Teven Jenkins is just not picking up the phone. He's just not responding. If I'm hearing reports about that, then yes, you got to get rid of him. That means he wants nothing to do here. With the culture that the Bears are trying to establish here, and stuff like that. But if Teven Jenkins is open and he's trying to get in contact with Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and they're just not picking up the damn phone, well, then that's on them. I would want Teven Jenkins to figure out whatever situation this is. I would want the Bears management and their coaching staff to talk things out, figure out what's the thing. And if the thing is, guess what? You're just going to have to compete for a starting spot. I'm not going to give you a starting spot because you want it and you think you deserve it. You got to earn it like everybody else is going to earn it. and stuff like that. And mind you, if Teven Jenkins really feels like that, mind you, he's just a second-year rookie, or he's a second-year player that barely got any play time last year. Like, let's be honest. The one highlight play he had last year was just him freaking getting a penalty just for unnecessary roughness so he could stick up for Justin Fields. I appreciate that, but that was still a penalty. You didn't really prove anything. And if anything, he can't prove to consistently stay healthy on the field. So, yeah, before I get out of here, if he does end up being traded, well, then it's another bust of a pick by Ryan Pace. Now, dude can get traded, be a great player somewhere else, and be a really good player somewhere else. I don't mean be a bust. I mean be a bust of a draft pick for the Bears, because guess what? You just wasted a draft pick. Now I'm seeing all over my damn timeline on Twitter, you got these damn Bear fans, some Bear reporters, and some Bear fans actually saying, now with this whole situation, the Bears should have never gotten rid of Charles Leno Jr. in the first place. We would have been fucking fine if we never did that. What the hell are you people talking about? Now you got Bear fans actually saying Charles Leno Jr. was good when no. Charles Leno Jr. was never good. He was god awful. He was garbage, trash, basura. You got dumbass Bear fans now saying that Charles Leno Jr. was damn near. They're hyping this guy up like he's an all-pro player. When just a few years ago when he was on this team in 2019, this guy sucked. He had that one good year in 2018. Every other year on the Bears, he was garbage. He wasn't a good pass blocker. He wasn't a good run blocker. When he was pass blocking, he'd get blown up. He wouldn't even get to the second level for run blocking. He was a liability at the left tackle position. And you got dumbass Bear fans because this Teven Jenkins issue is not going the way it wants, or the way people thought it was going to go. Now people are saying, we should never got rid of Charles Leno Jr. We should never cut him. People, do you understand? These were the same people too that were crying and complaining about Charles Leno Jr. not being that good, and then when they cut him, they were actually fine with it. They were like, "Oh, no harm, no foul. You got your left tackle of the future in Teven Jenkins." But all of a sudden, Teven Jenkins, he's on the rumor of potentially being traded. All of a sudden, now Bear fans like, we should never got rid of fucking Charles Leno Jr. What dumbasses are you? See, this is what you don't understand. You didn't like him at first, but now you wish you had him. But because a situation potentially went sour, and now Teven Jenkins might be gone, now you're like, oh, Charles Jr. wasn't that bad. Nah, Ninja, he was terrible. I watched every Sunday of the Bears game for the past, 4 or 5 years. That guy was getting blown up, man. He didn't even have a really good season in Washington last year. Anyways, he was okay. But my God. That's what he was. He's a 7th-round pick. He was okay. Oh, but he exceeded his draft pick. Whatever. I don't care. Bear fans coming up here making dumbass shit. This is why I don't trust the freaking fan base on anything. I just make my own opinions, and I call it how I see it. Can't trust these idiots. Jeez Louise. Thinking that they know everything here. So, if he gets traded, another parting gift left by Ryan Pace. Another high draft pick that Ryan Pace failed to do anything with, even though it was only 1 year. But it goes to show you, maybe Teven Jenkins, if he does not like this whole attitude or this whole idea or this culture of pretty much working your ass off, well, maybe he enjoyed the Matt Nagy regime a little bit too long, where they just coddled people and held their hands. And stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. What are your thoughts, Bears fans, on this Teven Jenkins situation? Do you think Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus can resolve this issue and get him to practice? I just hope there's reports coming out that they actually had a sit down talk with this guy, and they figured out all the issues that are going on, why he's not there. Or I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's injured. They're not transparent with anything going on, and stuff like that. And again, like I said, the Bears don't have to tell us, but fudge. Like, this dude's a high draft pick. Either we trade this guy or he's hurt. But I'm thinking maybe the Bears don't. I think Ryan Poles and the Bears don't value him as much as I guess Ryan Pace must have valued him. And maybe they're just like, well, guess what? If you're not going to show up to practice, well, then what's the point? We don't We don't already value you high anyways. So yeah, but okay, that just means that the Bears more than likely are gonna have to draft an offensive lineman next year. Um, because so far for Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, who are offensive line guys, they have not really impressed me with their offensive line decisions. It's somewhat similar to what Ryan Pace did. They just addressed the offensive line late in the draft instead of, I don't know, getting high offensive linemen that are actually fairly talented, very good, that can actually be of service and actually help and keep your quarterback up straight instead of having these 4th, 5th round, 6th round, 7th round offensive linemen that, hey, I'm not saying that they can't be good, but what are the chances they become Pro Bowlers? Probably not. You want to get the cream of the cream. But you also didn't address that issue with the wide receiver issue because whatever. We can talk about the Bears strategy and stuff like that at a point in time later. Anyways, guys, if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on this Teven Jenkins news. Hit that subscribe on the Camping 15 Talk Sports if you want more sports content, whether it's NFL, NBA, Chicago Bears, or any other team that I talk about. Till then, guys, catch you guys next video. Peace.